Alright, so Unreal Engine 5 has opened, and if you're confused right now what is going on, you don't understand anything, just don't worry about that. Most of the things we're not even going to touch. I'm just going to show you everything that we need to know before we start with the projects, and just don't worry about that. Don't worry about the complexity of this software. It's pretty easy and very intuitive to use, right? So you're either going to see this in your viewport. This, by the way, is called the viewport, or you're going to see, just ignore what I'm doing, by the way. I'm just going to go to another level, or you're going to see this thing right here, right? So I think most of you are going to see this thing, but if you're seeing that, what you're going to do is that I'm just going to remove this. Just ignore what I'm doing, by the way. You just have to click this button right here. This is the filters button, and then you're going to go to level, and once you're in the level, I'm just going to select minimal default and just double click that, and it's going to take you to that level. Now, what exactly did we do? We used the content browser, right? This is called the content browser. It's you can sort of think of it as like the file explorer in Windows. You basically have all your folders and all your assets in one place, and you can just use any of them. You can just drag anything in your viewport. Speaking of the viewport, this is our viewport, and we're going to be moving in it. We're going to be creating our whole scene in it. And yeah, that's that. And this, however, is the outliner. You're not going to have this viewport, I think, so I'm just going to delete that. Anyways, so this is the outliner. You can see all the assets which are currently inside of our scene right here. So for example, if I just click this chair here, if I click this chair, you're going to see that this chair is going to be selected, right? And you can just click anything and that's going to be selected. Similarly, if I select this chair in this outliner, it's going to select that in our viewport. And when I select that, you're going to see that in the details panel. This is called the details panel. You're going to see everything which is important about the chair, right? We can make changes to the chair. We can change certain properties of the chair, but don't worry about this. Most of these settings we're never going to touch. We're just going to be dealing with a few very important ones, which I'm going to get into in just a bit, right? So basically, you're going to see all these static meshes. So basically in the static meshes folder, you're going to see everything which is in our scene currently, which we can see. However, you're also going to see all this stuff as well. Now, what exactly is this? So basically, these are the volumetric clouds. If I just look up, obviously you don't know how to look up right now, but what I'm just doing is that I'm holding the right mouse button. I'm clicking the right mouse button, and then I'm moving my mouse to sort of look around. And if I just look up, you're going to see that if I select the volumetric clouds, and if I click this I button right here, you're going to see that it's going to go away. So basically, they were the clouds, right? Then we have this SM Sky Sphere. If I look around, you're going to see that nothing seems to be selected at the moment. But if I turn it off, you're going to see that nothing is really happening because of the fact that this basically SM Sky Sphere is not really being used at the moment. If I just go down, you're going to see that nothing really happens because this Sky Sphere is essentially useless for now. Also, don't worry about how to move. I'm just going to show you that in just a bit, right? So next, if I go to Skylight, if I turn this off, you're going to see that everything, all the shadows are going to become much darker, right? If I turn this on, you're going to see that the shadows are going to become much more realistic. Now, what exactly does the Skylight do? The Skylight basically makes sure that the sky is emitting light. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it is exactly as the name suggests. Basically, what happens is that if I click this thing right here, this is called the light source. It's called the directional light. It's basically the sun, right? If I look up, and you're going to see that's the sun right there. If I turn this off, you're going to see that that's going to go away. And with that, it's going to take all the light away from us, because obviously the sun was the thing which was lighting our whole scene, right? And if I turn the skylight off, you're going to see that now only the sun is basically the sun is the only light source in our scene, right? And everything else, the whole sky is not emitting any sort of light. So you're always going to want to have a skylight in your scene. And by the way, if you're adding a skylight, make sure to go into the details panel and make sure to turn on real-time capture, because this is going to make sure that your skylight is being updated constantly, and it's being it is giving you the best results. Apart from that, we have the sky atmosphere. If I look at the skyline right there, you're going to see if I turn this off, it's basically going to get rid of that blue atmosphere of the earth. So that's what it does basically. Post-process volume, we're going to come back to this later. It is a little complicated. However, basically this exponential height fog is fog. Well, I mean, it's just fog. That's how you add fog inside of Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, that's what all of this stuff is doing. This player start and starter background cue, this is basically meant to be used if you're playing a game. Also, you can just go into the game mode by pressing this button right here. So if I just press this button and if I click in my viewport, you're going to see that now you're going to play this like a game. So I can just press W on my keyboard to move ahead, and S to move back, A to move to the left, and D to move to the right, and I can just go wherever I want. Right, so basically it's like a first person game. And I'm going to press escape to get out of my game. Also, right now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you guys how to move in Unreal Engine 5. So basically you just hold your right mouse button to look around, right? And then with your right mouse button held, what you're going to do is that you're going to press WASD to move forward and backwards, and E to move up, and Q to move down. So basically you move in Unreal Engine 5 just the way you would move in a regular FPS game, except for the fact that you can go up and down using the E and Q keys respectively. However, in FPS games you can't really do that. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And you can even go through objects in this. So basically there are no restrictions in the editor mode. And yeah, so that's basically how you move in Unreal Engine 5. Now, I'm sure this might seem a little weird for you, especially if you're coming from a traditional 3D software like Blender. I remember when I first started learning Unreal Engine 5, it was very confusing for me to get used to this controls, and I immediately searched for a way to change these controls to Blender controls, which are holding the alt on my keyboard and then using the mouse to move. But what happened was that firstly I wasn't able to find any proper technique of doing that, and secondly within like a day or two, within I think a few days, I basically got used to this method of movement, and I started to prefer this, because in Unreal Engine 5 generally your maps are very big, right? And there's no one central pivot point around which you want to move. Speaking of that, you can also do that in Unreal Engine 5. However, it's not that good. You can just hold your Alt on your keyboard, and then you can use your left mouse button. Just click that and move around. But now you're going to see that your pivot point is not this, right? You would expect that your pivot point would be this. However, it's not. It's just this random point in the air around which you're moving. So I would not recommend you to use that tool. I would actually recommend you to just use the WASD keys, right? Now, for example, now right now our camera speed is very fast. For example, if I just want to place my camera right in front of this, right, I can't really do that because our camera speed is very fast, right? How do we decrease our camera speed? You basically go up to this thing right here, this camera right here, this camera icon, which says 4 right next to it, and then you just decrease that to something like 2, and that's going to essentially cut your speed by half. And now you're going to see we can make precise movements, right? You can even bring it down to 1. And what if you want to, for example, increase your speed by quite a lot? You can just simply increase the camera speed back up, and you can maybe increase it to 8, and then you're going to see it's going to be very fast. Now, usually in Unreal Engine 5, if you're creating like a really big landscape, this is not going to be enough. Camera speed 8 is not going to be enough. So for that, if you want to go above this, you're just going to simply increase this camera speed scaler. So for example, if I increase this to 2, you're going to see that it's going to essentially give us twice the speed of like the regular 8 camera speed, right? So I'm just going to change this back to 1 because this is insane. And I think 3 should be fine. But let me just first increase the camera speed and go closer to my scene, and then I'm gonna change this back to something like 3. I think should be good. Yeah, so I think that is fine, right? So that's how you move inside of Unreal Engine 5.